Hey y'all, it's Miss Flores. So today we are going to be adding and subtracting mixed numbers. It's basically the exact same thing that we have been doing, just a couple extra steps depending on what our answer is. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first question, we've got 2 3/4 plus 3 3/10. So just like with normal addition and subtraction with fractions, I can't do anything if their denominators aren't the same, right? So our first step, just like before, is going to be finding the least common denominator for our fractions, which in this case are 3/4 and 3/10. So we need to skip count by 4 and 10 and find their least common denominator. So skip counting by 4 is going to be 4, 8, 12, 16, 18. Oh, not 18. I started counting by 2. 20. And then 24. 10 is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So looking at that, their least common denominator is going to be 20 because it's the first one that they both share. So you can turn 3/4 into 20ths and then 3/10 into 20ths. So to go from 4 to 20, just like before, just like a normal addition and subtraction, to go from 4 to 20, I have to multiply by 5. So they'll do 3 times 5 to get my new denominator. Well, 3 times 5 is 15. So 3/4 is equal to 15 20ths. And the same thing for 3/10. To go from 10 to 20, we're going to multiply by 2. So we'll do 3 times 2 to get my new numerator, which is 6. So now I've got my new equivalent fractions. They're going to take the place of their old fractions. So instead of it being 2 3/4, it's now going to be 2 15 20ths plus, instead of 3 3/10, it's now going to be 3 6 20ths. And now we can solve that. So I'm going to add my denominator. I'm going to add my, not my denominators, I'm going to add my whole numbers. So 3 plus 5, which is, 3 plus 2, which is 5, and 15 20ths plus 6 20ths, which is 21 20ths. So I end up with 5 and 21 20ths. Now here's the thing about mixed numbers. You cannot have a mixed number and then have your fraction in that number be an improper fraction, right? So what I need to do is I need to turn that improper fraction into a mixed number. I need to take that whole number out, put it with my whole number 5. So I'm going to do my division to turn my 21 20ths into a mixed number. So 20 goes into 21 one time. 1 times 20 is 20. We subtract and we get 1. So now these pieces are going to be my mixed number. So since 21 to 21 one whole time, 1 is my whole number, 1 was my remainder, so it's my new numerator. 20 was our denominator, so it stays 20. So now, instead of it being 5 and 21 20ths, it's now 5 and 1 20th. But we want to put our whole numbers back together. So now it's going to be 5 plus 1 is 6. So we get 6 and 1/20th as our final answer. So I know it seems like a lot of steps, but we have done absolutely everything in this, right? We've added fractions. We know how to add whole numbers. We know how to convert between improper fractions and mixed numbers. And then we just put it back together. And that is all we are doing. So let's look at the next one. We got another addition problem. 5 3/4 plus 1 1/3. So, exact same steps. We've got to find our least common denominator and convert our fractions to be new equivalent fractions with the same denominator, and then we can start our adding. So we're going to skip count by 4 and 3 to find their least common denominator. So 4 is going to be 4, 8, 12, 16, 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12. So 12 is the first one they both share. So I'm going to turn 3/4 into 12ths, and I'm going to turn 1/3 into 12ths. So to go from 4 to 12, we're going to do 4 times 3 to get 12. So we'll do 3 times 3 to get our new numerator, which is 9. And then same thing for 1/3. To go from 3 to 12, 3 times 4 is 12. So I'll do 1 times 4 to get my new numerator, which is 4. And now that I've got my new equivalent fractions with the same denominator, it's going to take the spot of their old fraction. So instead of it being 5 3/4, it's now going to be 5 9/12. Plus, and instead of it being 1 1/3, it's going to be 1 4/12. And now I can add them. Well, I'm going to add my whole numbers, 5 plus 1, which is 6, and then add my fractions. 9/12 plus 4/12 is 13/12. So now, just like before, I've now got a mixed number, and my leftover fraction is an improper fraction. You cannot have a mixed number and have that fraction be improper, right? So I need to pull the whole number out. I can do that by dividing. We'll do 13 divided by 12 to turn that 13/12 into a new mixed number. So 12 goes into 13 one time. 1 times 12 is 12, and I subtract and get 1. Now I've got all the pieces to make my mixed number. Since 12 went into 13 one whole time, that's my whole number. My remainder is now my numerator. My denominator stayed the same. So now, instead of it being 6 13/12, it's now 6 1 1/12. Now I just put my whole numbers back together again. 6 plus 1 is 7. So I end up with 7 1/12 as my final answer. So you don't necessarily always have to do this because sometimes our answer is not an improper fraction, right? It's just when our leftover fraction is an improper fraction, we do need to convert it back to a mixed number so that we have a nice simplified answer. Let's look at some subtraction problems. Our next one is a subtraction problem. We've got 3 2/3 minus 1 1/6. It's the same thing as before. I cannot do anything with those fractions until they have a common denominator and they have their new equivalent fractions, right? So let's find them. We're going to skip count by 3 and 6 to find the least common denominator for those fractions. Well, 3 is going to be 3, 6, 9, 12. 6 is 6, 12, 18, 24. So 12 is going to be, oh, not 12, my bad. 6 is going to be the first one that they both share, right? Well, since 1/6 is already sixths, all we got to change is our 2/3, right? We just need to change 2/3 to 6ths. Well, to go from 3 to 6, I got to multiply by 2. So we'll do 2 times 2 to get our new numerator, which is 4. And so now that 4/6 is going to take the place of 2/3, and now we're ready to solve. So we have 3 4/6, because that took the place of 2/3, minus 1 1/6. And now we can solve that. So I subtract, since I'm subtracting, right? I subtract my whole numbers. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And then 4/6 minus 1/6 is 3/6. So now I end up with 2 3/6. So now, just like before, if we've got an answer we can simplify, we should simplify it. Always simplify if you can. 3/6 can be simplified, right? 3 and 6 can both be divided by 3 because they're both multiples of 3. Well, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So instead of it being 2 3/6, it can be simplified to be 2 1/2. So 2 1/2 is our final answer. Let's look at our last one that we're going to do before we get started on today's assignment. We got one final subtraction problem. We've got 5 6/7 minus 1 2/3. So y'all know the drill by now. You're seasoned champs at this. We cannot subtract those fractions because they've got different denominators. I've got to find the least common denominator of 7 and 3 before I could even do anything. So let's skip count by 7 and 3. So 7 would be 7, 14, 21, 28. 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12. I'm going to have to keep going. 15, 18, 21. So 21 is the first number that they both share. So I got to turn 6/7 into 21sts, and then 2/3 into 21sts. All right, so to go from 7 to 21, 7 times 3 gets me 21. So we'll do 6 times 3 to get my new numerator, which is 18. And then same thing for 2/3. To go from 3 to 21, I got to do times 7. So we'll do 2 times 7 to get my new numerator, which is 14. And so now we've got our new equivalent fractions that will take the place of our old fractions in our problem, just like what we were doing yesterday. So instead of it being 5 and 6/7, it's now 5 and 18 over 21 minus 1. Instead of 2/3, it's going to be 14 over 21. And now we can solve. So I subtract my whole numbers. 5 minus 1 is 4. And then I subtract my fractions. 18 over 21 minus 14 over 21 is 4 over 21. So I end up with 4 and 4 over 21. Can 4 over 21 be simplified? No, it can't. It's actually in simplest form. Because 4 can only be divided by 2 and 4. 21 cannot be divided by either of those. So 4 and 4 21st is my final answer. So let's go ahead and take a look at today's assignment. All right, y'all, here is your assignment for today. So our assignment is a Google Slide activity. It's only 7 slides, but our questions are 2 questions per slide. So here we have slide 1. It is 1 1/4 plus 3 2/3. And here, obviously, y'all know the drill with Google Slides. There's not really going to be an ability for you to, really draw on this unless you are using a tablet of some sort. You'll definitely need a sheet of paper to solve it and go through all the steps because, you saw all the steps I was doing. There are some steps, and you will definitely need a sheet of paper to complete that. But this is just basically just where you record your answers, right? So you'll have your whole number that you'll type in here, your numerator, your denominator, right? And so that goes for the rest of the assignment. So you've got, this is both addition problems. The next slide is both subtraction. And then the next slide is both addition. And then the other one is both subtraction. And then you've also got word problems. So on slide 6, you got Jason ate 1 4/9 pizzas, while Mary ate 1 1/5 pizzas. In total, how much pizza did these two eat? So you're trying to total up their pizza. That probably means that we're adding, right? So this would be like adding 1 4/9 plus 1 1/5. And then our last word problem, we got that the gas tank in Rebecca's old car held 14 1/5 gallons. The gas tank in Rebecca's new car holds 18 1/2 gallons. How many more gallons will the tank in Rebecca's new car hold than her old car? Remember, how many more means that we are subtracting, right? We're trying to find the difference. How much bigger is this gas tank than the other gas tank, right? So we're subtracting 8 1/2 minus 14 1/5. So this is our assignment for today. Only 10 total problems that you have to solve. We will go over probably about half of them when we meet back up later on today. Let me know if y'all have any questions, and have a fantastic day, guys. Bye.